Hello, so to start off, you're going to need some scissors, a 6mm hook, weight for yarn, and some kind of stitch marker. Whether it's like a bobby pin or an actual stitch marker, it's fine. Chain the length of the cardigan. This is going to include the front and the back. It's not just the one side. I like to have it connected because I don't always like seeing where you sew it, so this is why it's more of a one panel tutorial, because it just looks so clean and it's one thing. So I chained 210, and it's important to remember this number because you're going to need it later, because we're just going to have to cut it in half later. Not too crazy of math, which is good because I know some crochet pieces include a crazy amount of math, but this one, it isn't too bad. At least I don't think so. If you're confused on how you want to measure it, I have a video showing the length coming up soon, and it just shows how it goes along your body. So once you came with the chain to show yourself, I like to fold in half and then put it on the top of my shoulder, because it's kind of like where the half of the body is, front and half, and that's how long it's going to be. So I thought that was a good length. Then I like to chain one more to have the even number of chains, 210, and then I go in the second chain from the hook and half double crochet. If you're not familiar with this, I would watch tutorials. There's so many tutorials online, but you just yarn over one and then insert it into the chain and then pull through the first loop and then 3 loops, and you pull through the 3. This is going to be the stitch that we use throughout the whole project. I mean, there's little other ones, but for the main part, we're using half double crochet for most of it, and I don't know if this is true for everyone, but this is my favorite stitch because it's quick and it's not super tiny like single crochet. So you just keep half double crocheting. After you finish the first row, you're gonna half double crochet like the first half. I also have a video showing if this doesn't make sense either later on, but I did 25 rows because that was a thickness that covered all of my shoulder, like enough to where I want the sleeve to start, and then also made the oversized lift, and then also was wide enough to cover like the front half and back half of my body, like when sewed together from the side. So you can see you end up with this big rectangular scarf. If you want to stop here and just make it into a thick scarf, that's fine too. But you put it over your shoulder, kind of like how we measured it before. You can see that's long enough to start the sleeve. And then its thickness is also good to cover my front and back when sewn together. Like if you connect those two sides. Once you have the width that you want, you're going to start by making the neck part now. So the little gap that your neck goes in, that will be in the back panel but not in the front one. So you're just going to half double crochet. You have to count out loud for this one, so don't let anyone talk to you. You're going to half double crochet half of the number you started with. So the initial chains that we said, I did 210, so half of 210 is 105, and I'm only going to 105. I'm not doing the whole row. I'm literally stopping smack dead in the middle. Once you get to that 105 or that half number, you half double crochet the number of rows that's wide enough for your neck. I did 10, but it might be different for you. But like we tried it on before, you can try it on again, and just keep doing that same number. So I have the half number, so it's 105. So half of the panel is not going to have this. And then you can see my 10 rows, and it's around the width of my neck, if that makes sense. And then you have to make it the same size, so we're just mirroring it, it's folded in half, so you have to chain half of the number you started with again. So 105 is half of 210, like we started with. So all we're doing basically is like the chain, it's remaking the panel that we started with initially. So now like 105 plus 105, 210. And that just makes it mirrored and equal. Now it should be even, and for the next part you're going to half double crochet again. You're going to half double crochet into the chains and then into the half double crochet from the previous row, so it makes like one long one. For this part there's two different ways to do it. I did a more annoying way, but you can see like this is the regular way, you just half double crochet as normal, but there's a fancier way that makes the sides look the same on each side. I don't know if that makes sense. Like this is a really picky thing, but I don't know if you'll be able to see it, but like there's these bumps in the back of the chains that you can go in, and it's gonna make it look like, well, if you try it out you'll see. Like I don't even know how to, it just makes it look the same on each side. But you really, the first one's more annoying to find, but you just go in each of those bumps in the back and it makes it look even. But as normal, either way, you're going to be half double crocheting all the way through the chains. You can see here I got done all the way done through all the chains, and we're back at the half double crochets from the row we did before, from the neck part, and you're going to half double crochet right into that, making the back to normal 210 row regular length row that we started with. Now you can see we made it back to the even, so you want to crochet the same number of rows you did for the first half, making that big chunk scarfing that we had, the same on each side. So like I did 25 rows, so you just do it the same. Now you want to find the stitch that is the halfway part of the outside. So I used the neck because that was like our halfway, and you want to find the half. So you just go across, like I just kind of follow the stitch. Honestly, it doesn't have to be perfect because who's going to tell if it's like one stitch different, but I like to put my stitch marker there because this is kind of going to be, when you try it on, you're going to see it's the top, like the top of your shoulder part that we've been measuring this whole time. And you put a stitch marker right there. Now you're going to put the stitch marker on the top of your shoulder. You have like this weird, it's almost like just like a vest if you were to sew the sides, a thick behind vest, but you put the stitch marker lined up to the top of your shoulder, and you're going to pinch the sides together to see how big you want the sleeve to be. My oversized shirt was not helping with this process, but you're gonna just pinch. It doesn't have to be like perfect right now because we're going to make it even later, but you just put the stitch marker there around where you want it to be, and then take it off, and we're going to count. More counting. Now you're going to count how wide the circle is, like just counting how, not necessarily from marker to marker, but like just that big circle that you see, how wide you want your sleeve to be. So like I ended up counting that I had a circle of around 54 stitches all the way around, like from the beginning to end, 54. So that blue marker that I have is like the halfway point technically to make the sides even. So since I have 54, you want to cut that in half so each side's even, and do 27 and 27 on each side, or however wide yours is. You can also do that, like find the half and then count 27 away, and then put a stitch marker on each side, the front and the back. This is going to start our sleeves. And we just crochet right into it so that you don't really get that sew look. It doesn't look like, we're going to get the little bit of the sew look because we have to sew it later, but not as much as disconnection on the sleeves. So this is gonna mark where we start to make another little rectangle of our half double crochets. So you want to slip stitch in the yarn again, and you're going to chain one and then half double crochet from marker to marker, because that is how wide we want our sleeves to be. You're gonna keep doing half double crochet rows enough to cover your arm. Like, you can just keep putting this thing back on you over and over again to measure how long that you want it. I had to do 35 rows. Enough was the length that I like. If you're going for the oversized look, this also is a good number, at least for me. But just keep that in mind. This is gonna come out how wide you make it. So these are like rectangles coming out from the side of the body that we just made, so that our arms are able to fit in it. So now, like the little try on, this way I could see how long. I got confused for a second. It's a little confusing, but you know where we crochet, like the neck lines up, everything. Me trying to figure this out right now. But once you put that on, you should have the 2 long panels, and then you can measure how long your sleeve, oh, a little tangle there, how long you want your sleeve to be. So like that was like a good length. We're gonna also add, what is the word? A trim, maybe, like a little outline too at the end. I mean, that's also optional if you really don't want it. If you want to just leave it open like this, but I like to add a little wrist action so you can see like what we're going to be sewing there later. So that's a good length for me. And now eventually we have to make the other side too. So for the trim, you're going to single crochet in each stitch that we had. So like this is the 54 stitches that I had before. After you're done that, you're going to single crochet and then do a decrease. And you just go in, instead of pulling the loops, you just pull a loop out of each one and then have 3 and then go through those. And it's like combining the 2 stitches together. And you're just going to go every other for the rest of the row. So this is making our sleeve a little smaller. Not a lot smaller, like it's still pretty loose, but it just makes it a little tighter so it's nice on your wrist. Then once you're done the decreases, you chain you chain 7 chains. And then from the second chain on the hook, you're going to single crochet into it all the way down. So for this little part, we're going to be doing up and down instead of side to side like we've been doing. Now you want to slip stitch in the next 2 stitches. So you just slip stitch in the bottom. Now we're going to single crochet, not in the V, but only in the back part of the V. Like if you can see like just the back part. This is back stitch. I'm pulling it out. Back stitch, single crochet. We're just gonna make little bumps, which is gonna make it nice and pretty. And you want to make sure you don't end up adding, like sometimes you can just put your hook in random stuff and add numbers, but you want to just keep a little check-in that you're doing 6 single crochets each time, because I've definitely randomly increased without meaning to before. So you just want to keep count because we don't want it being all wavy in the end. Once you get to the top, you're going to chain 1, turn your work up and down again, and go in the back stitch going down, doing 6. And just remember, each time when you get to the bottom, you're just going to slip stitch in the next 2. You're going to repeat this all the way down the row until you're at the end of the sleeve length. And repeat the same instructions for the other sleeve, but now you don't really have to measure because you know the numbers already, and just use them again. Now try this blob that we have on, and you're gonna want to add stitch markers to where you want to sew together. Just stitch markers, like you don't need them, but it just makes it nice and neat. Like sometimes I'll be sewing and it just will not be lined up at all, so I like them as a reminder. What's nice about the corner, it lines up, like you can kind of just see where it changes, because one looks normal and one is like the side of a row. So you just go around. You're just going to be sewing down the side of the sleeves and down the side of the body, just 2 sewing parts. Some tips I have about this, some of them, they add up. You'd like to sew the inner sides together. Like you just want to kind of do one and what looks nice. And I actually use, which is weird, like I use the outside part to sew. Like usually you sew and use the other side, but I like to like control, make it loose and like pull them apart so that you can't even really tell that it was sewed together at all. I'm going to be showing you this in the next clip. And I just have a little sewing needle. Also, this is not necessarily needed because sometimes people don't have sewing needles. You can also slip stitch it together too. It gets the job done. You know, I was a slip stitch girl back in my day. But you can see I'm only picking up 1 loop. Like you don't want to just pick up a bunch because it just doesn't look as nice and it makes it all bulky. So you're just picking up 1 loop. I cut a really long string. and I'm gonna just keep pulling it through over and over again. It's more easy to see where it lines up on this part too because they're the same. Like it's just a little marker part that you can see, but you want to kind of I'll be showing you in a second, but I like to lay it down flat so you can really see where the rows line up, because each row should line up like it's perfectly in half, because that's just the way we crocheted it. And you also don't want to pull it too tight either, because it just will look scrunched, and we don't want it to look scrunched. Unless that's really what you want, and I can't judge you, but that's up to you. So you can see the technique I'm doing now. Oh goodness, I just can't talk today. The technique I'm doing now, I lay it down and line it up so I can just see right in the middle, so pretty, where all the rows are. And I'm going to show you why I use this side as the outside, because I just do it so it's not as tight and it just lines up so pretty. Sorry, I just had too much fun making this cardigan. But this is our last step. You just sew down those sides.